Here, July 31st of the Osceola County School Board to order. I'd like to welcome you all here. Thank you for being here. I'm going to do it too, if I can find mine, but please silence your cell phones so they don't go off during the meeting. I can't even find mine, so don't worry about it. Tonight our invocation will be led by Mr. Terry Howe from the Living Water Church. Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Christina Ray, the principal at Westside K-8. Our mission statement by, say that last name?
Andrea Juergens.
Andrea Juergens. She's an AP at Horizon Middle. It's actually this one that I wanted you to say.
Naira Alvarez.
Naira. I'm going to get that one right. And our translation services will be provided by Naira Alvarez.
And pronounce that R.
So, with that, I'd ask you all to stand. And Mr. Howe.
Heavenly Father, today we thank you for our children. You say that they are a heritage to you. I pray today special blessings upon our school board members, upon our officers, our teachers. Lord, everyone that is represented here today, family, friends, parents. God, I just pray that our discussions today, our decisions that we would make, would continue to make Osceola School District even a better place to be. And Lord, that our children would reach the highest level of learning possible. And we give you praise. In your wonderful name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mrs. Ray.
Okay, if you'll please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You may be seated. Ms. Juergens.
The School District of Osceola County's mission, inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you, Ms. Juergens. Senora Alvarez.
I am Naira Alvira, and I am here to provide interpretation services. Mi nombre es Naira Alvira y estoy aquí para proveer servicio de interpretación al español.
Thank you. Gracias. And I want the record to reflect that it was written wrong.
Chairman, we need a new translator at the dais.
Actually, he said it right because he knew. Yeah. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the time of our meeting where we have comments from our board and superintendent. Positive, hopefully. I'll start down here with Mr. Wheeler, and thank you for wearing that shirt, Mr. Wheeler.
It's my favorite team. And I just want to recognize he's not here tonight. He's taking his daughter to school. Mark Clinch, I met with Mr. Clinch in the last couple of weeks to go over some facility issues. He accommodated me, meet me very early in the morning in Kissimmee. He did a nice job, very well organized. I appreciate it. I also want to recognize my board. I've had to miss a couple of meetings recently due to some business commitments. As you all know, I'm not running for re-election, and my time is definitely occupied. But I want to thank the board for their leadership and for keeping it together while I'm gone. You did a great job, and I just want to let you know I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Soto.
Yeah, welcome everyone to our board meeting. It's always good to see people attend these meetings and hopefully participate. It just came to mind that the summer is over, but the next season brings in the start of a new school year. We have a high school that's coming online. Everybody is very excited about it. I'd like to really, because we'll start it before our next school board meeting, I think. So I'd like to congratulate everyone in getting that going. I look forward to our open house. And finally, I want to remind everyone to think carefully whether or not you want to shiggy. It's really something that is taking a lot of youth, and like I said, it's really the question is whether to shiggy or not. So read my newsletter. I have some tips there to help you with that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Mr. Thacker.
Nobody knows what shiggy is.
Yeah, nope.
Let Mr. Thacker.
Watch your mouth, Mr. Soto.
I don't. And I have a 12 and 13-year-old daughter. I don't know.
I want you to know that the best part of your comment was Mr. Kruppenbacher's look at me when you said that. That was like, what did he just say?
Well, read the newsletter. I explained it all in there.
I bet you do.
Mr. Thacker, please.
Okay, sorry.
Recover.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to point out, as we have in most of our agendas, we have a line item on here to accept donations from other companies, and one I just wanted to particularly point out today was Disney, who comes through and many times when we need help has given us a donation, an in-kind donation valued at close to $150,000, and they used it to help us with some issues we were having in transportation, and it was really impactful to those people in the district. So I did just want to especially thank Disney for that. We appreciate them as well as we appreciate everybody else on that donation list every month, every 2 weeks, that continually to donate their time, their energy, their dollars, or their goods and services to this district. It's probably in excess of $1 million a year, and I don't know how we would survive without that. So just kind of wanted to mention that, and that's all I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Thacker. Mr. Washner?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Pace?
Yes, Chairman Booth, just a couple of things. As Mr. Soto and all of you have mentioned, school is right around the corner. Our teachers return to work full-time on Monday, August the 6th, and a week from then, on the 13th, our students will be coming back. Next week, our bus drivers will be going ahead and practicing dry runs, so you can start to see yellow buses on the road next week, so that they will be ready to go, and we're looking for a really smooth opening on August the 13th. But we also will launch our back-to-school transportation parent hotline, open from 7 to 5, starting Wednesday, August the 8th, from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the first week of school. So parents with questions or concerns about bus stops, bus drivers, bus issues will have a place to call and make sure that we get an answer. In addition, we're launching on our website the new Let's Talk tab, where individuals can submit online questions and comments to help guide our work, and we are really excited about this additional community engagement outreach. And then finally, I had the opportunity to start the day this morning at our new teacher orientation. Our professional development team and others have worked together to put together just a really super 2 days of learning for the over 300 teachers that we have hired and will be ready to start next week in their classrooms. In addition, at the same time, we were training our 40 mentors that we've been able to hire as a result of our federal grant, the TSL grant, in cooperation with the district. So we've got new teachers and mentor teachers working side by side over these next 2 days to really be excited about a successful launch to the school year. So excited about those opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. And I too, had the opportunity to speak to our new teachers today at St. Cloud High School. It was great to be there. All I said was thank you for joining the family, the Osceola County School District family, so we appreciate that. It's lost its effect a little bit because I didn't bring it in here, but I wanted to remind everybody, I got my absentee ballot in the mail, and I voted, so I had my little sticker that said I voted by mail. I've left it in the office or something. But I did want to remind everybody to make your voice heard. I think early voting begins as early as maybe next week or the week after. It's soon, and then the primary is at the end of the month, the day you actually go. I've been doing by mail for a while now. I like it that way. But I did want to remind everybody, last night I was thinking about what I would say up here tonight, and I thought that was a good reminder. Go out, make your voice heard, make your vote count. And the last thing I want to say, I don't get on it a whole lot anymore, but last night my wife was looking through and she said, look at here. This lady has been at the district for 31 years. And I said, no way, because she doesn't even look 31 years old. But I just wanted to say congratulations to Miss Tammy Cope-Otterson for 31 years of service to the Osceola County School District. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you, Tammy. I hope I didn't put you on the spot.
No. Another thing that I always like to brag about is I'm an Osceola School District graduate too. So I was born and raised here, and I was educated by our great district. So that's
thank you.
We're proud of.
Awesome. So guys, that's it. And I think we will move on to our presentations. Horizon Middle School. Well, I'll just call Mr. Allen. How about that?
Thank you, Chairman Booth. Good evening, Board, Superintendent. Numerous research studies confirm that when educational professionals work collectively rather than isolation, achievement can as much as double students' anticipated annual academic growth. Hence, Goal 1, Strategy E of the District Strategic Plan, calls for us to strengthen collaborative processes to meet the needs of all students. Professional learning communities, or PLCs, are at the heart of this endeavor, and all of our schools, district-wide, have worked extremely hard over the past several years to advance this important work. Tonight, however, we are elated to announce that one of our schools has been recognized nationally this summer as a PLC model school for exceptional teacher collaboration and sustained levels of high academic achievement. Horizon Middle School is now one of only 150 schools in the entire United States to be honored with this distinguished award. So please help me in recognizing Principal Michael Ballone and the entire Horizon Middle School community for this great accomplishment.
Whew, wow, what an honor to receive this recognition. I'm really proud of the hard work that the teachers put in, and this is all about the teachers. And they work extremely hard to build high-functioning PLC teams. It's inspirational to see their commitment to do whatever it takes for students to be successful here at Horizon. I also want to thank Mr. Allen, because the PLC process and the roots of the foundation of that was when Mr. Allen was principal at Horizon Middle School. We have a lot of great procedures in place from wonderful administration in the past, and the PLC process was something he definitely brought to Horizon Middle School that we continue to focus on and drive the work that we do at Horizon. I look forward to continuing to build the systems that we have in place at Horizon, and once again, like I said, our whole thing is every student every day, and do whatever we can to help them be successful. So, thank you.
Mr. Ballone, come on.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. It's a lot of hard work, but it's definitely making a difference for kids. So thank you.
Thank y'all. Dr. Pace, that brings us to the administrative appointments when you get back to your seat.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thacker. And members of the board, I am excited that we have some wonderful appointments to recognize tonight, and this will complete our school leadership teams, at least for today. We're confident going into the school year that we'll be there. If I could invite Ms. Heather Miller up to the podium, please. Board, it's my pleasure to recommend Ms. Heather Miller to become an assistant principal at Westside K-8. She has been a teacher at Horizon Middle. She was a part of the MSP grant, the Math Science Partnership Grant project manager for Osceola, Okeechobee, and Volusia County Schools. And she's been the district science specialist for our school district since 2016. She received her bachelor's degree in zoology from Michigan State and elementary ed from Oakland University. She also has a master's degree in science education and an education specialist degree in educational leadership from Walden University. And I am so excited that Ms. Miller will be recommended to join the team with Ms. Ray at Westside K-8.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion for approval and second. Board, any conversation? Nope. Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 4-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I want to first thank the board. Thank you, Dr. Pace and Dr. Fritz. I'd like to thank my husband, Drew, who's right over here, and my family watching in Michigan. I am extremely, extremely grateful to all of the leaders who have guided me here today. Mr. Allen, Ms. Clayton, Ms. Henninger, Mr. Hines, and Ms. Neuer. I've had excellent leadership from the time I entered Osceola County in 2004. The love and support of my middle school team, who make me a better teacher every day. And, sorry, my amazing middle school science teachers, who I've gotten to support over the last 4 years. They're amazing, and I'm really sad to leave them. But I'm very excited for the opportunity to work with Miss Ray and Miss Graham and Mr. Vasquez, helping to inspire a new group of teachers and leaders at Westside. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
You worked for Penny Neuer?
I did.
Wow, okay, you really, then you
And I
really-
survived. I was a first-year teacher under Penny Neuer.
Everybody who worked for Penny Neuer learned how to run a school.
Yes, absolutely. It was a great opportunity. I'm glad I got her for that 1 year. But thank you to everyone, and I look forward to this opportunity.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Now, if I can invite Jackie Miglianico up to the podium, please. As Jackie's coming forward, Board, I'd like to recognize and recommend her to be our Assistant Principal at Celebration High School. She has been at Celebration High School since 2005 as a teacher, guidance counselor, IB counselor, guidance director, and IB coordinator. She received her bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in counselor education from University of Central Florida and a master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education. And I'm confident that Jackie will be a wonderful asset to Mr. Connor Gilbert's leadership team at Celebration High School.
Motion to enthusiastically approve.
Second.
Discussion.
We have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Weisshire. Mr. Wheeler?
Miss Miglianico, my daughter went through IB with her, so I've lived IB with her, with a ton of your students also. You're going to do great as an AP. The question I got is who you're going to hire for your coordinator job. But no, I'm thrilled. You'll be awesome. Great hire, and this is a woman who knows the kids, knows what they got to do, will push them, demand that they do what they got to do to be successful, and you've made a lot of kids really successful. I know that. I see them now, so I'm thrilled you're getting this opportunity. Glad to see Mr. Gilbert in the back. I know you're going to be a great addition to the team, so yeah, I'm thrilled. When Dr. Pace put this on the agenda, I was thrilled to see that you were getting this job.
Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Board, I'll now call for a vote. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm just overjoyed to be able to stay at Celebration. It's been home for 13 years now, and so to take on this leadership role and to continue to grow at a campus that I love dearly is just exciting as can be. So thank you so much, Board. Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, thank you so much for your encouragement and your belief in me to take on this role. Dr. Reinhardt, thank you truly for all your encouragement and guidance as I took on ed leadership these past 2 years. So, thank you so much. And of course, I have to thank my leadership team, Mr. Gilbert, Ms. Myers, and Mr. Zella for taking me under their wing even before I took on ed leadership these past few years. And of course, I have to thank my husband, my children, and my entourage that is here this evening. Yes. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. Miglianico, are here. And then my husband, Christopher, and my two sons, Osceola County students, of course, Joseph and Nicholas are here as well. Mm-hmm.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And now, if I can invite Ms. Tammy Deary up to the podium. Board members, I am honored tonight to bring forward a recommendation for Tammy Deary to be our new coordinator of mathematics, K-12. Ms. Deary has been a teacher in Hillsborough since 1990. She's been a trainer for middle school mathematics, a district resource teacher for federal programs, a supervisor in professional development, and currently serves as the supervisor of middle school math for Hillsborough County's public schools. She is also president of the Florida Association of Mathematics Supervisors and a board member for the Florida Council of Teachers of Mathematics. She received her bachelor's degree in mathematics education from the University of Central Florida and a master's in education, curriculum, and instruction in interdisciplinary studies from National Lewis University. As you know, Board, math achievement is a prime focus for us as we continue to want to advance our student skills and our instructional practices in this area, and I'm confident that Ms. Deary is the right person to lead that work.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Weisshire, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, any discussion? Welcome, and you've got a tough job, and we're glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
So, anybody else?
But you've got 68,000 of the best kids anywhere, though.
Yes, sir.
Board, call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board for your confidence in accepting me as part of, I was going to say team, but I found out very quickly here the word's family.
Yep.
And I'm already excited to be a part of the family, even for the last 10 seconds. I also want to take the moment to give a special thank you to our superintendent. I'm thrilled to call you my superintendent now, and to Dr. Fritz as well, for taking time to talk to me when I had lots of questions, and I appreciate that. So I look forward to being a part of the change that can happen in a school district for mathematics, because really when we make the change in mathematics for kids, we change their future and we change their trajectory. So I am thrilled and honored to step into this role and to be a part of this wonderful family. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, if I could invite Mr. Tom Rademacher to the podium, please. Board members, as Mr. Rademacher comes forward, I am pleased and honored to recommend him for your consideration as the new principal at Neptune Middle School. As you know, Ms. Mukadam told us just in the last little bit that she was going to explore some other opportunities. And Mr. Rademacher just stepped right up to the plate when we called. He's been a teacher at Lakeview Middle School and Winter Garden, teacher at St. Cloud Middle School, dean at St. Cloud Middle School, assistant principal at St. Cloud Middle, and assistant principal at Denjon Middle. He received his bachelor's degree in business education from the University of South Dakota and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Central Florida. Tom is a dedicated and committed leader, and I know he's going to take Neptune back to that A that we've been looking for.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Weissauer. Board, I have some discussion. You know, Neptune's, an important school to me because I was there the first day it opened. My mother taught there for 26 years, just retired a few years ago, and all those ladies who remain her friends, who I see all the time and who call to complain if I don't do something that they like, are all still around. And there's some big shoes to fill. I'm going to let Mr. Thacker had something to say. I'm going to steal it from him since I'm talking. But I think you are the first male principal of Neptune Middle School.
Boy power.
I'm sure the ladies will remind you of that if you get something out of it. But I want to say congratulations. Like I said, Neptune is special to me, and I'm glad that we've got somebody to step right in. So congratulations. Board, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you to the board for the trust. Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Mr. Allen, and the entire leadership team. They've all had a great impact on me being a leader in this district, which is something very important to me because I have 3 children of my own that go through this school district. I need to take the time to say thank you to Cindy Shavini, principal at St. Cloud Middle School, for 5 great years to mentor me. Every day she proved to me what hard work and dedication to what's best for students. It is not a surprise that St. Cloud has been one of the top middle schools for year after year with her there. Thank you, Cindy, for your time. To Mr. Hank Hoyle, who cannot be here tonight, the last 2 years at Denjon Middle School, I want to thank you and my other half, Sue Haley Dolan, and that entire community and those kids. The hardest thing to take this job was to walk away from a group of kids and a community that have the passion and desire to get better. It is no surprise there where in the last 2 years we've had the highest growth of any middle school in the district, I believe, because they bought in and those teachers in that community are amazing. But lastly, I wouldn't be standing here to live out my dream and my passion if I didn't have the most incredibly supportive wife, who is also a sometimes single mother of 3, because I want to be at every school function for the kids in the community, but also an amazingly dedicated teacher here in the district. Thank you for keeping me grounded, for always remembering that the most important parts of my leadership opportunities are what's best for the teachers and the students in those classrooms. So thank you. Thank you to all you guys.
Congratulations.
Now, if I could invite Miss Amy Rauch up to the podium, please. As Amy's coming forward, board, it's my honor and pleasure to recommend her to be an assistant principal at St. Cloud Middle School. During her career, she's been a teacher at Parkway Middle, at Bella Lago, at Neptune Middle, and Canoe Creek Charter Academy. She's been the Dean of Students and the IB Middle Years Program Coordinator at Parkway Middle. She received her bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Central Florida, a master's degree in math education from FSU, and an education specialist degree in administrator leadership for teaching and learning from Walden University. And I'm confident she will be an asset to Ms. Shavini's team, and it's one more for Ms. Shavini to mentor before she retires in a couple of years.
Move for approval.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. Thacker, a second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, any discussion? I have some. That's because two very important people in my life attend school there every day, my two daughters. So I'm glad to have you on board. My dad used to say every time he took me to school, if they get out of line, just whoop them. I know we don't allow that anymore. But
do that to Ricky
go
on
ahead and
board.
do that to mine too. I don't mind. But no, seriously, I'm glad you're joining the team at St. Cloud Middle School, and happy to have you. So congratulations, board. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks to Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, and Mr. Allen for the rigorous process they put us through, because it is a very strong indication that everybody in our district wants absolutely the best for every student every day. So tonight I have with me my family. My mom was able to join us, my husband Bob Roush, my son William, who's also a senior in the school district this year, so we're excited about that. I'm beyond excited to be part of the Mustang St. Cloud Middle School family and to be able to work with Ms. Shavini and Ms. Berta. So again, thank you so very much, and it's just fabulous. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Board, if I can invite Ms. Harrell up to the podium. As you know, when we move someone like Mr. Rademacher from that AP role at Denjon Middle, there are some big shoes left to fill. Even though Mr. Hoyle is very capable and Ms. Dolan is great, we know that it takes a full team to make that work. And so when we called Ms. Harrell, currently the assistant principal at St. Cloud Middle, to accept a transfer to Denjon Middle School, she was willing and eager and able to accept. So we very much want to recommend Ms. Harrell as the AP now at Denjon Middle as a transfer unit. Again, she's been trained well under Ms. Shavini, and Mr. Hoyle will continue that work. So thank you for answering the call. And Board, I do recommend her to be for this transfer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weisauer, second by Mr. Wheeler. Congratulations on your new job. Board, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. Say a few words if you'd like.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Thank you. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for your
very much.
willingness to be where we need you. We
Yes.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. So, everybody, with that is our appointment and transfers for the school district. We will move into the public comment section, but I will at this time. I know everybody wants to stay for the whole meeting, but they might have somewhere exciting to go instead. So this would be the time to if you're some of the family or the group, if you want to step up and head out, this would be the time.
See you tomorrow.
Hey. All right. You do it, man. Thank you.
I think
Yeah. Well, because of having Miss Kish, Miss Taylor, Cindy Mullins, and yeah, that's it. Yeah. Hey, no comments? Okay. So board, actually, while the rest of the folks are leaving, we just want to let you know this is the time for public comment. We ask you to fill out the sheet in the back of the room. Certainly, if you haven't done that yet, I do not have any in front of me. If you haven't done that yet, please grab one of those and bring it up to the clerk here at the front, and we will do that. Look like we may have a couple.
Oh, okay.
And this, just so while the folks are filling out the public comment cards, we will, board, just so you know, and for the audience, we will be recessing twice after public comment, once for the budget workshop and then again for the rulemaking public hearing. So that will be immediately following our public comment. And we do have a few folks filling out. you don't have to be precise on what you want to talk about. You want to bring it up.
Mr. Boyd, would you mind singing a song as we wait?
You know that I would do anything, but I don't have any objection to that.
Well, you're good at the fillers. I mean, you've seen you do it every year at our retiree event. And
I appreciate your confidence.
yes, sir. The microphone's right there. I'm waiting.
I would prefer Mr. Weissauer to sing, actually,
I know you would.
and dance. Oh, is your back hurt?
No, my back's fine.
Okay, good, just checking.
And then, Mr. Krummenbacher, you have notified Mr. Adams that he has exactly 3 minutes to make his presentation. Is that correct?
It is a very, very, very unique Florida statute that only those of us very experienced have read. And I've advised them for you.
Minute
Ma'am, if you want to
56.
go straight to the podium, that'd be fine. If you will, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gail Oakes. I live at 2920 Harvest Lane. It's in Rustic Acres.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm to the members of the board. I'm here this evening to ask a special favor. My daughter Christina is an ESE student at Harmony High School. Last year it probably took me 2 years to get her back into Osceola schools, working through the system to make sure she was in the right placement. And she started at Harmony in January. She is thriving there. She's comfortable. She's got the most wonderful teachers, and everyone there is exceptional. We were rezoned to Harmony. To Toho. I requested through the school choice to stay at Harmony, and that was granted. Now I'm asking if you would consider picking her up. But as near as I can tell, I was thinking this morning from the bus route coming from the bus garage, there's only 3 ways to pick up the other students. One is down Boggy Creek, one would be down 192 because you have to go around the lake, and then the other one might be going through down in through St. Cloud. The most efficient way, probably practiced, would be to take Simpson to Boggy Creek to get down to Narcoozy, which would mean the bus would go right by our house. And I understand they would not, to my knowledge, would not add another route. It would just pick her up on the route that will already be there when they go into Narcoozy to pick up all the other students that live in Countryside. There's another young man that lives in Lake Point, Patrick, who's more, he's as severely as well, a special needs student. And I can only plead for your understanding, and my husband can't drive because of his illness, and I'm the only one in the family. I'm the caretaker for everybody, and it would be a great help if they could just pick her up on the way by.
Thank you, Mrs. Oakes. And board, just so you know that Mrs. Oakes and I had a conversation on the phone Sunday afternoon. We have also had some email correspondence concerning this issue. Just to clarify, Ms. Oakes lives in the new Toho zone, okay? And so she would have busing provided to Toho High School. Okay, and Mr. Wheeler?
First of all, I appreciate you coming. Obviously, you're a good mom who loves your daughter, wants to see what's best for her, and we appreciate that. And, we need more parents like you. My children were out of zone for 10-plus years, and we had to drive. I mean, that's what you get when you're out of zone. You make a conscious decision. I appreciate that you've got some extenuating circumstances, but a lot of parents do. Meanwhile, you showed courage and caring enough to come to this board, and that's greatly appreciated by me. I can't speak for everybody. Like I said, we need more parents like you. And typically when you do apply for out of zone and you were granted the out of zone, you're responsible for transportation. That just goes part and parcel. Meanwhile, I appreciate that Mr. Booth, you and her have had some email correspondence. I don't know that it can be worked out. I appreciate that you've looked at the routes and you look at where you live relative to where the buses do or don't go. Whether that's still the route once Toho opens, we don't know. I mean, we just don't know. So, clearly we'd like to do what we can to accommodate something like this. Now, what you may want to look into is Lynx offers a service for disabled people also, where they may be able to pick your daughter up and take her and bring her back also. I don't know if you call Lynx yet with that. That's independent of the school system. It's different, but Dr. Pace, I recognize that that we typically don't provide transportation without his own students. I'm not suggesting that we set a precedent here. Meanwhile, my feeling is if there is a way that we can help her without throwing our entire logistics off, I wouldn't have any heartburn over it, considering this mom cared enough to come. But if we can't, then I would encourage you to, you'll have to do what every other out-of-zone parent does. Figure out a way to drop your child off and pick your child up like the rest of us do. Some carpool, some don't. But I would call Lynx. Lynx has a service specifically for people with medical problems. I don't know if your daughter could or could not take advantage of it. I don't work for Lynx. I can't speak to whether they would or wouldn't, but you might want to look at that.
Yeah, and I just want to say before you respond, Dr. Pace, that is actually what I asked Dr. Pace, that if this wasn't throwing the bus off of some route, if it was something we could do, then I would certainly support that. But I have been, the recommendation that I received from Dr. Pace and the staff was that it is just, it's not on the way, so to speak.
Well, then Dr. Pace, what I would ask is, I don't know the Lynx service, but there is a Lynx service for people who are infirm. And maybe that's something we can look at to help this mom out with. I don't know.
We have been working with Ms. Oaks since the spring in conversations and offered a couple of different alternatives. We'll continue to do that. But, Tohoku-Kalaga High School is also going to have excellent teachers, and we are certainly willing to have Kristen and the family meet with Mr. Phelps, the staff there, in advance to help her adjust. But we're continuing to look at what we can offer.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Oaks. Appreciate it. Sir, did you have one? Yep. Would you bring it forward, please? If you want to just hand it to me, you can. Yes. Thank you, sir. If you'll just state your name and address for the record,
so
unless you're a law enforcement official or something.
No.
Okay.
I'm Joseph Pendergrass. I'm at 2223 Cypress Lake Place, which is right across the street from Ponciana High School. Mr. Weisser?
Yes, sir.
Is, I guess, the board member there or whatever.
Yes, sir.
So I tried to contact him, but I couldn't contact him, so I decided to come to here. As a former school teacher myself in New York City, public school safety is very concerning to me. I moved here 3 years ago. I watched the Waterview community that's across from Ponciana High School be built. My issue was, as a school teacher, and I was also a dean, our kids, I was responsible to ensure that our kids got from school to their destination in a safe manner. So from the extension of the school to, in New York City, it's a train station. Okay, so here, my issue was watching the kids come out of Ponciana High School, and there's an area in Waterview where the kids are being picked up by their parents or whatever, which is a very unsafe condition. I addressed that. I also started a community watch group at Waterview in relations with the with the Osceola County Sheriff's Department, with Deputy Beltran. We've addressed this issue of kids being picked up, parents stopping there in this very dangerous area inside of Waterview, and how to address that to stop this from happening, because it is very dangerous. You have people coming through at the time that kids are being picked up by parents in a place where they shouldn't be parking anyway. I addressed it with the public transportation, with Commissioner Arrington. They came out, they're going to do a survey. They're going to, from what I'm told, they're going to put no parking signs there, etc. But I wanted to come and address it with hopefully the board here to see what can be done by the school board to address this school safety issue. Because this is a really concerning issue to me, because even though those kids walk across the street, they leave the school, I believe that the school is still responsible for them until they get to their destination, which is with their parents. And I would like to at least have something. I was going to come and ask Mr. Weiss if he would come and address our community meeting. That way, the people within our community, because some of those kids are also in our community. So if they could come and address the community.
We
as to how
appreciate that,
could
Mr.
do
Pendergrass. We do have, Pendergrass, as I said?
Pendergrass.
Mr. Phelps, is it still you that serves on the county overall safety commission? Who is that now?
Buster and Randy.
Oh, okay. So you guys serve on that. They have that information now, and they can take that to that. There is a public
Traffic Safety Commission.
Traffic Safety Commission that is represented by the school board, the cities, and the
Right.
county. And you've just talked to one of the members
Right.
right here.
Yes, I actually had addressed Mr. Henry Salinas. He's at the traffic safety, and he came and he actually looked at, we did a whole survey of our area and stuff, and he did talk about that. So I was just hoping that anybody could address this concern.
We'll certainly call Henry tomorrow and see what he's come up with. Typically, it is placing the signs there.
Yes.
So that they could be cited.
Right.
For doing something they're not supposed to.
Okay.
You gotta have the signs first, then you can do the citing,
Right.
right? That's the way I've always understood it.
Okay. And once again, I would gladly appreciate if Mr. Weisser.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I don't know
could
how
come
we
and
didn't
address
connect
our
with one
community.
another, but I have your contact information here. I'll personally reach
Yes.
out to you tomorrow.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
coming.
All right, board, we will recess our regularly scheduled meeting and call our board workshop for budget to order and have Mr. Jose, where is Jose? You have it on this first. Again, Nidra, you see this? This is twice tonight. Twice tonight. All right, we will go not on the way I have it, but we will recess and we will have our workshop on rulemaking on rulemaking public hearing. There we go. Mr. Boyd.
Yes, sir. Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Pace. Tonight, we have just a handful of changes to provide for you. We're not seeking action tonight. This is just the workshop. The first change would add new policy language and/or revise existing policy language to comply with recent changes in state law and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice in regards to Senate Bill 7026, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act. Note, district staff, is still working diligently with state and local government agencies to provide drafts of policy that comply fully with these recent changes in state law. The resulting drafts will likely be submitted during rulemaking cycles throughout this school year as the Florida Board of Education promulgates and passes its own policies, and the Florida Department of Education provides ongoing legal interpretation and technical assistance to school districts. Therefore, there is no draft for policy related to this in your packet tonight. There could be at the public hearing, and if not, in a subsequent rulemaking cycle. The next change is Rule 4.21, Selection and Management of Instructional Materials. It adds paragraph 1 to meet requirements for instructional materials adoption within sections 1006.28 and 1006.283 Florida statutes. The next change is 4.30, Challenge Materials. It revises paragraphs 1 and 2 in order to meet requirements for challenges to adopted instructional materials within sections 1006.28 and 1006.283 Florida statutes. Rule 5.14, Homeless Students, revises language to comply with recent changes in federal law as a result of the reauthorization of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. Rule 6.321, Employee Use of Cellular Telephones, revises paragraph 2F to replace Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, with the term Guest Network. Rule 7.34, Hospitality Funds, revises the policy to add additional activities for which expenditures may be used. And lastly, Rule 8.60, Network Acceptable Use, revises paragraph 9 to clarify the school district's requirements for retention of email and digital public records to comply with Florida Public Records Law and the School District Records Management Manual. It revises paragraph 13 to clarify the school district's digital security requirements for employee passwords. It revises paragraphs 15 and 16 to replace Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, with the term Guest Network, and it adds paragraph 18 to assert the school district's right to log, monitor, examine, and evaluate all usage of its technology resources. At this time, Board, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, I'll take them and then incorporate them before we head to the public hearing, which is scheduled for next month.
John, just because I can't pull it up, Mr. Boyd, would you explain the hospitality rule, funds change?
Sure.
Just briefly.
Just briefly, it actually would add additional items that could be used, could be purchased with those funds, and those are itemized in the actual draft of the rule. I don't have in front of me at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'll make certain to address those items at the public
Board,
hearing.
do we have any other comments, questions, concerns? Mr. Whiteside? Mr. Wood, good?
I just want to,
Okay.
John, I read through this. I want to thank, you do such a good job organizing this and getting this ready that
Yes,
you
he
make it
does.
look easy. And I appreciate how simple you make it and how well you organize it and prepare us. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Whiteside?
I just have a question, just because I don't understand. What is the difference between a child or a youth? Why is that being added?
That
It's
was a
just odd
change
to me.
recommended by staff just to be in compliance with the same language that's actually in the Act. They use the same terminology.
Yeah, it seemed redundant to me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Mr. Boyd, do we need to call for public comment on any of these at this time?
Not this meeting,
Not
but at
this
public
meeting.
hearing
Okay.
next month, yes, sir.
So, Board, seeing no further discussion, we will adjourn the public rulemaking. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. And now we will remain in recess and call our budget workshop to order.
Good evening, board members. This is our first public hearing on the proposed millage rates and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2018-19. Tonight's public hearing on the tentative budget will include remarks regarding the proposed millage and budget. There will be an opportunity for public and board comment. We will request that you adopt a resolution setting the proposed total millage levy to support the 2018-19 tentative budget. We will also request that you adopt resolutions approving the 2018-19 tentative budget as presented and approving the 2018-19 policy regarding the expenditure of lottery funds. We'll request authorization for the superintendent and staff to perform all necessary actions to comply with trim requirements. And lastly, we'll announce the date of the final public hearing to adopt the 2018-19 budget. We'll start with a few definitions. First, what is trim? The Truth in Millage legislation was enacted in 1980, and the requirements are detailed under Section 200.065 Florida statutes. The statute dictates the form, the size, and the placement of our budget advertisements, as well as the order of business during our budget hearings. TRIM requires 2 public hearings for open discussion of the millage rates and the proposed budgets of all taxing authorities. What is a mill? A mill is a property tax levy of $1 for every $1,000 of taxable property value. So 1 mill expressed as a decimal is 0.001. And as a quick example, $100,000 times 1 mill would be equal to $100. As you know, the Florida Education Finance Program, or the FEFP, is the mechanism by which state and local funds are allocated to Florida school districts. The Florida legislature sets the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage that must be levied by the school board. In order to participate in the FEFP, the school board must levy the required local effort millage and the prior period funding adjustment millage. The total proposed millage related to school funding for the 2018-2019 school year is 6.411 mils. This millage will generate revenue for the general operating and capital outlay funds. As previously mentioned, the millage rates are determined by the Florida legislature, and this is the maximum millage that you as a school board can levy without a specific voter-approved referendum. The district must levy the required local effort and the prior period funding adjustment to receive approximately $288.8 million in state FEFP funding. In addition, we must levy the full basic discretionary millage to receive an additional $16.4 million in compression funding from the state. The proposed total millage rate related to school funding of 6.411 mils represents a decrease of 0.338 mils when compared to the 2017-18 rate. The reduction in the RLE from 4.501 to 4.161 mils equates to a loss in funding of $8.9 million when applied to the current tax roll. So as required by TRIM, we must compare the proposed millage rate to the rollback rate. The rollback rate is the millage rate that would generate the same amount of revenue as last year if it was applied to the current year's adjusted taxable value. Under TRIM, the rollback rate is the basis for determining if tax rates have increased or decreased. This slide compares the proposed millage rates to the rollback rates. The current state law rollback rate is 4.197 mils. The current proposed millage rate for 2018-19 is 4.163 mils. The proposed rate is 0.81% less than the rollback rate. The rollback rate for the total millage is 6.2932 mils. The proposed total millage rate is 6.411 mils. The proposed total rate is 1.87% greater than the rollback rate. So based on that information, we advertised a notice of tax increase on Sunday, July 29th. The Osceola County tax levy will increase by $9.9 million for school-related taxes in 2018-19 as compared to the prior year. You'll notice that while the millage rate decreased, the tax roll is up 11.5% over last year. Since the legislature implemented a rollback of the required local effort millage rate in the 2016-17 fiscal year, the district has lost over $41.7 million in property tax levies. So how are property taxes calculated? This is just a simple example, but you can see here that the taxable value of a homeowner's property equals the assessed value as determined by the Osceola County Property Appraiser's Office, less a $25,000 homestead exemption when it's applicable. The homestead exemption is amount exempt from ad valorem taxes. This amount is established by law for properties used as the owner's primary residence, and it's normally $25,000. The portion of property tax related to school funding equals the taxable value divided by 1,000 and then multiplied by the school district millage rate. So in this example, a homeowner with an assessed value of $125,000 with a homestead exemption will pay $641.10 of school-related ad valorem property tax to Osceola County. This slide illustrates the changes in school-related property taxes for an Osceola County homeowner over the last several years. So in this example, a home valued at $205,000 in 2014 would have generated roughly $1,327.50 in school-related property tax. If the owner qualified for Save Our Homes, by the 2018-19 school year, the estimated assessed value of that same home would be approximately $217,000. Based on that valuation, the estimated school-related property tax would be $1,230.40. This is a decrease of $34.77 from the 2017 tax year and a 4-year cumulative decrease of $97.10. So now we'll change focus from taxes to the budget that you will be adopting tonight. The key items in the budget have been shared with you in previous workshops and presentations. The budget that was presented to you on July 10th has been adjusted to incorporate the second FEFP calculation and the final certification of the tax roll. Other minor changes and adjustments were made to fund balances as we continue to close out the 2017-18 fiscal year. Based on our current FTE projections, FEFP and local tax revenues for the 2018-19 budget are $31.6 million greater than the 2017-18 year. Funding for, per student will increase by $138 or 1.97% over the prior year. It's important to note here that most of the $138 increase is in restricted sources. As you already know, the change to the unrestricted base student allocation was 47 cents per student. This slide shows our long-range forecast. At the close of the 2017-18 school year, we're projecting a surplus in the general fund as planned. The proposed budget presented tonight includes another small surplus for 2018-19, about $500,000. Based on state funding projections, we're anticipating a minimal increase in per-student funding in the following years. Careful monitoring of budgetary resources will remain a top priority to ensure sustainability through any future funding shortfalls. This is the district's total budget in summary form. The general fund is the main fund from which most operating expenditures are paid. In addition, tonight you will approve budgets for the debt service fund, which is used to pay for the outstanding bonds of the district, the capital projects fund, which accounts for major construction and renovation projects, the special revenue fund, which consists of food service and federal grants, and finally, the internal service fund, which accounts for the district's health insurance and property casualty insurance programs. The total tentative budget is just under $1.2 billion. This one's hard to see, but this slide represents the annual budget at the level of detail you will be adopting tonight. This is the same level of detail at which you approve budget amendments throughout the year. Mr. Chairman, this is the time for any public comment, and then after public comment, the floor will be open for board member discussion and comments.
Okay. Is there any comment from the public? Oh, seeing none, I'll ask the board. Do you have any comments? I guess, go ahead, Mr. Wesher. Oh, I guess what I'd like to know, and maybe this isn't the right time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'd like to know, because we hear a lot about that fund balance that we have to maintain to keep our credit rating. I'd like to know how many millions of dollars it would cost us if our credit rating were to drop, or if we did not keep the right amount in there. And that's not a question I know you can answer right now. But I mean, if you and Sarah could work on that, Dr. Pace, that'd be a good question to have answered.
Right. Absolutely. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I.
Financial advisor.
Yeah.
Yes, the financial advisor, sure. And yes, they should be able to answer that. I'd sure like to know.
We'll certainly bring that back to you.
Anybody else? Board? Nope. Jose?
Okay, so we recommend that the board adopt resolution number 19-002, setting the required local effort, the prior period funding adjustment, discretionary operating, and capital outlay millage rates for 2018-19 as follows. Required local effort, 4.161 mils. Prior period funding adjustment, 0.002 mils. Discretionary operating, 0.748 mils. Capital outlay, 1.500 mils, for a total millage rate of 6.411 mils. The total millage rate to be levied exceeds the rollback rate by 1.87%. Mr. Chairman, this resolution requires a roll call vote.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Thank you. We recommend that the board adopt resolution number 19-003, adopting the tentative budget in the amount of $1,195,475,051. Mr. Chairman, this resolution also requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We recommend that the board approve the policy for the expenditure of lottery funds as listed on this slide. Mr. Chairman, this requires a regular vote.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion by Mr. Whitesire, a second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote at this time. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And finally, we recommend that the board authorize the superintendent and staff to perform all tasks necessary to ensure compliance with the truth and millage requirements of Chapter 200.065 Florida statutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Wheeler. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
The final public hearing on the 2018-19 budget will be held on Tuesday, September 11th, 2018, at 5:30 p.m. in the School District Administration Center at 817 Bill Beck Boulevard, Kissimmee, Florida. Board members, that brings me to the end of my presentation and concludes the first public hearing to adopt the 2018-19 proposed millage rates and budget.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Board, we will adjourn our budget workshop and call our regularly scheduled meeting back to order. I still didn't say it right, but we'll go with it. Is there any agenda modifications?
I Item of modification, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to recuse myself from item, I think it's 18.1.
Is that a regular item or a
It's
consent?
a regular item.
Okay, well, then you should be fine.
The reason my daughter works for that company, and I don't want any appearance of inappropriate personal gain. And I'll file the appropriate paperwork, which has already been filed with Ms. Culver, so she got it.
Okay, Mr. Soto?
I have
Mr. Weissier?
No, sir.
Mr. Thacker?
no change.
I'm good. Dr. Pace? Okay. Board, Mr. Wheeler's comments do not require us to modify the agenda. He would just have to recuse himself on the
That item.
number 18, which is a regular agenda item. But we will vote now to approve the agenda and adopt the
Motion
consent
to-
items.
Motion approved as submitted.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Weissier. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Board, if you'll just let me get back, I'd like to join this meeting again. There we go.
Can you give me 1 second?
Do you need to join the meeting as well?
Yeah, I've exited all meetings.
Because
Clarence has left the building.
Clarence is past 6:30, that's why.
My son's helping me get back with the program.
Actually, Board, if you'll just let me continue, because right now we will move to the, I believe we moved to our information items, and I know you've all been waiting. So Board, you know you have the monthly business advisory packet in your agenda, as always, and now we're going to turn it over to Mr. Ryan Adams, Board, to talk about the college academic athletic prep class. I appreciate him doing this. As you know, Board, I know it was just the three of us here last time. I think it was Mr. Soto, Mr. Weissier, and myself. So Mr. Thacker and Mr. Wheeler didn't get to join in the discussion, so hopefully Ryan can, if you'll give just a minute for Mr. Thacker to re-enter the meeting.
This does eat into your time, by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Start the
appreciate the
clock.
10
No,
minutes
no.
to have anyway, so we're good.
You say 2 minutes?
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Adams, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, well, Chairman Booth, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Dr. Pace, thank you. You had asked about some information on opportunities that we have for curriculum for our student athletes. And one of the things that we had done back in 2015 is we had partnered with a group called Athletic Quest, and they offered what's called CAP, the Collegiate Academic Athletic Preparatory Class. We offered this at Osceola for a year, and then we basically turned it over to them to take on that class moving forward, which at that time they decided, due to financial restraints, that they were not going to do that. So what I wanted to do tonight was share with you what is CAP, what is this class, and what does it bring to to our student athletes and to the School District of Osceola County. When you look at CAP, the core focus is basically enhancing our study skills, identifying academic as well as athletic strengths and weaknesses while we're developing training schedules, goal settings, and self-marketing our student athletes to the colleges of their choice. And this is, when we're talking about college athletes, we're talking about Division I, Division II, III, and NAIA. These are all opportunities out there that our student athletes, unfortunately, do not have the tools right now necessary to understand that entire process. The NCAA process and the NAIA process is very long, tedious, and this course is very beneficial for them to help understand how that all works. So if we look at the course will also address the importance of impact in sportsmanship, citizenship, bullying and hazing, and many other leadership skills within their social networks, while at the same time understanding the student-athlete's role in an educational and social environment. This course will help navigate them through the process of how to understand the process of receiving athletic scholarships and how to market themselves, while at the same time helping our coaches who will be teaching this class to better serve our student athletes at the same time. When you're looking at the course assessment and evaluation, we're looking at all of these opportunities that our students are going to receive. Development in strong classroom and study habits, participation in oral and written reports, research and development projects, evaluation and assessment on individual citizenship, active participation in college recruiting, attendance and participation is vitally important, as each concept is relative to their future collegiate opportunity. What will the class entail? The class has 39 lesson plans already developed for our student athletes, and they're broken down into these 4 categories: academics, life skills, recruiting, and athletics. And taking it even further, my copy is not color-coded, but you'll see up there on the next slide, 11 of them are going to be broken down for academics, 9 life skills, 8 for athletics, and 11 will be broken down for recruiting, which if you see here, I have the color copies if you wanted them blown up. Obviously, it's a little probably small on your screen. But you'll see how those courses are broken down for the athletes for this particular class and how they work for our student athletes. Someone brought up time management. You'll see under there, under lesson 29, time management is listed there. And I think, what color? That's in green? Green. Which falls under the, is it green, academics?
Academics.
Yeah. Mine's not in color, so I apologize. So you'll see how those lessons are all broken down for the students. So what does this mean to the School District of Osceola County? What are the materials that we will be providing our students? And we have 2 options with Athletic Quest if it's something you choose to do. We can have up to 50 students per school year, 25 in the first semester, 25 in the second semester, or we can look at 100 students per year, 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring. How much is that going to cost us? It's $5,000 per school if you choose to go with 50 students, which is $100 per student, or you can, if you choose to go 100 students, that would be $7,500 per school, which breaks down to $40,000 if we chose 50 students per year and $60,000 if you wanted to go.
Excuse me, Board. Ryan, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Is this fee going to be paid by the students, by the school, or is the district going to pay that?
The request would be by the district.
Mr. Wheeler, this is why I brought this up, because I'll spare you the long story that I told last meeting, but essentially, this program was done at Osceola High School. I spoke with Coach Nichols, who I believe was the teacher
That's correct.
of the
He was the
class,
teacher.
right? And my question, to keep it short and sweet, I think they had to pay $7,000. If I'm not mistaken, this is a little bit of a break because of multiple schools.
Correct.
So they had to pay $7,000 to have this at Osceola High School. My question to him was, did we receive $7,000, or did students receive far more than $7,000 in scholarships because we had this course? His answer was absolutely yes. I said, did kids get scholarships that normally would not have got scholarships because of this class? And he said absolutely yes. And so that's why I asked Ryan to do a little further research and bring this forward, and also you and Mr. Thacker were not here.
Okay, and I appreciate that, Mr. Ruth. So the next question is, at Osceola High School then, obviously did the Booster Club pay for it?
No, the first year, the district paid for it to pilot the program at Osceola, and then we were handing it off to any school in the district that wanted to take it on. And at that time, the financial restraint made it where they were unable to. We had a couple other schools that looked at it. We were in communication with them, but at the end of the day, they chose not to take on the class.
Okay, so
due to
is
that financial
this a class that kids would get credit for?
Yes, it is it has an approved Florida Department of Education number.
Okay.
We receive a half credit for this course, and it would be taught by our coaches, and this will walk our student athletes through the entire process. And not only that, they'll learn how to do resumes, how to do interviews, how to market themselves, and how to get that information and find the school, Division I, II, and III, or NAIA, that fits their needs. There is a database that this company has collected that they can plug in, and they want to go to the Northwest, they can find a school that fits what they're looking to do, and they can reach out to that school.
They take this like freshman, sophomore?
My recommendation is our sophomores and juniors, because it's going to give them that opportunity to understand the process. If you do not have a blueprint for success, what we call it, entering your freshman year, there's potential by the end of your junior year you could be behind and automatically become ineligible if you do not meet certain requirements by the NCAA and NAIA. So our job is to communicate that information to them when they're coming in as freshmen. If you have a senior, there's nothing wrong with seniors, but unfortunately by that time a lot of the opportunities have passed by. Doesn't mean they're eliminated, but the chances are slim.
What
reduced.
about Is this information that our athletic directors already knew? Or is this, or they're learning from this also?
Sure, no,
Osceola knew about it.
we have the information. We've had multiple trainings with this. We had coaches trainings, I think it was 4 years ago. We had people down. We've had UCF, their NCAA compliance group have come down and met with the athletic directors. But at the end of the day, we have over 15,000 athletes, I think it is, in our equity report. And unfortunately, that message to deliver to all of those student athletes and to all of those parents just gets lost in translation sometimes.
If you're a football player at Osceola High School and you can get a scholarship, that mechanism is in place.
Oh, I understand.
I brought up a couple of other of the teams in my district where they've had 5 coaches over the last 4 years. I'm sure you know at Celebration High School where there's this revolving door. These kids aren't getting the Coach Nichols that's sitting there going, you've got to do this to be eligible for NCAA, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, here's the coach to call, here's the guy to call, here's that. This class will provide that for our, I'm not talking about this will be good for our D1 football players too, I get it. But really for those kids that could play at those kind of maybe mid-tier schools or get an academic scholarship because they're a good athlete.
Volleyball, softball, right? No, I get it. So I'm looking at this, and not to cut you short, but we have 8 comprehensive high schools now, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so 8 times 7 is 56, well, it's $60,000.
If you chose to go 100.
So if we do eight schools, what kind of break they're going to give us beyond this?
Well, that was the normal rate you'll see on there is 5,000 per school.
Right.
If we chose 50, so if you double it, it would obviously be 10,000. So they're dropping it down to 7,500.
Okay, well, okay. And they'll guarantee that price for 4 or 5 years.
I can ask that question, but we did not have conversations about terms.
I know Mr. Wheeler cut you short, but did you
I get it.
Did you find out? I know you said some other districts were using this, or some other 5. Have you talked to any of them yet, Ryan?
Lake Brantley in Orlando is using this. They've been using this for 3 years, I believe. I've spoken to the athletic director there. She loves it. She swears by it. But at the end of the day, it's more out in Utah. Their state pretty much has adopted this. When you see all of their material out there, they're trying to make their way into Florida. That's what brought them to us at one of our national conferences, is where this conversation started. That's why we brought them in, because we wanted to educate our coaches and our student athletes and have this opportunity for them. Unfortunately, the financial restraints eliminated it from moving forward.
Dr. Pace, I have a question. Do you support this?
I'd like to hear consensus from the board. I think it's a great program for kids. I will tell you that one of the things that Ryan and Dr. Reinhardt and I have already been talking with Mr. Cook, our college and career counselor, is that we also want to add a different dimension to our college and career counseling. It's primarily had an academic focus, and I think there's some potential to educate our college and career counselors in the schools about this kind of stuff. It would have to be taught as an elective class. A lot of it depends on master scheduling and all those types of things, and understanding that kids have to have that space in their schedule to get it. Is it potentially worth a semester for a kid to take that kind of a credit class? Absolutely.
I'm all in. I mean, I appreciate where you're going. I can figure the financial metrics on this right away. I mean, this is a great opportunity for a lot of those kids who might be on the bubble, who aren't necessarily being recruited by Ohio State, Florida, and Florida State.
Correct.
I mean, I see what this is, so, I mean, I ran a booster club for 2 years. I mean, I get it. I'm all in. I get this.
Those students are always going to have those opportunities. We wanted to ensure that we could provide these opportunities for every student athlete.
For more kids.
And cast our net out as far as we can to provide those tools for them to be successful.
It doesn't take very many kids to make $5,000.
No, I get it. I think this is a great, board. This gives a lot of opportunity.
Thank you. First question you already answered for me, Dr. Pace, which is this is taught as an elective, and the answer to that is yes. The second question I have is as far as selection. So you're not looking necessarily for this program to be offered to the D1 football player. How do you handle and deal with the selection process?
That's a great question. What we did when we were at Osceola is we took the student population of the athletes, we took recommendations from coaches, and then we did everything in our power to split it as evenly as we could amongst boys and girls and amongst every sport to provide the opportunities to have every sport at that school covered. We had a mixture of sophomore. I believe there was one freshman, Malik Hines, who's currently a senior at Osceola, who was in that class, and then we had sophomores, juniors, and a few seniors that were all enrolled in that course. So that's how we generated that at Osceola. That would be my recommendation moving forward, is to speak to our coaches and find out who those athletes are in the beginning, but ensuring that we have a balanced mix of males and females and covering as many sports so they can go back and talk to their teammates and spread the word and help us with that communication piece of how this process works. And then we enroll a whole new set second semester, and that number just keeps growing on itself, and before you know it, we're going to hit a very, very large percentage of our student athletes before they graduate would have had gone through this class.
So, thank you. You know, my concern would be that we're incredibly intentional about doing what you just said and making sure that the right students are getting the opportunity to be in the program, and that the tendency doesn't just become to provide it to the students that are the most liked or the closest, or I have to imagine every high-level high school athlete is going to want to be in this program when they hear what it is, and the teachers / coaches are going to have the willingness to say, no, it's not really for you, it's for Johnny and Susan. Sorry, Tim and Clarence, you can't get in, type of thing. How do we ensure that it's from an academic side, how do we ensure that it's being run with fidelity across the district? Who does that fall to? Does that fall to you, Ryan? Does that fall to your team, Scott?
That falls to the principal,
Okay.
as it does with all of our courses. Of course, Ryan would be there to support it, Laura and Dr. Fritz and I would be in school supporting it along with Ms. Hickey. But ultimately, it's the principal who makes sure that curriculum, regardless of whether it's American history or a CAP class, is being taught with fidelity.
So my point, just to be clear up front, which I think all of us would feel this way and everybody in the room would agree, is I want to make sure that if we go down this road, that the content that you just showed me in the material and the course map that's laid out is followed, and that the true material is being taught and the true learning is taking place, as opposed to it just being a fun class to be in that we can enjoy being in a cute little class with one another.
Yeah, after speaking with Coach Nichols and a couple of the athletes at that time, this was not one of those classes you take just to get a break during the day. They actually worked very hard to understand this process, because it is not easy.
Good.
And they found it extremely beneficial moving forward. And we do have some success stories out of that class, which we're very proud of, and we're still hearing them because we still have some students who are getting ready to graduate. And Malik Hines, being one of those, has tremendous opportunities for him moving forward as a wrestler. And without that knowledge as a freshman, he has put himself in position to be eligible immediately upon graduation going into college, where sometimes we find some student athletes fall behind as they've missed the requirements to meet NCAA eligibility directly graduating high school.
Okay. And then how do we measure, what is the metric that we use to measure the ROI on this? And what I think is really important is the true distinguishing factor that this class actually had.
Right.
Student A may have gotten a scholarship anyway, but now they have access to a greater scholarship at a greater institution or whatever. And how do we really, yeah, how do we really, I just want to know what the metric is that we use to say this is really working, as opposed to, you know, well, scholarship, 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 and let's be honest, they all would have had them anyway. How do I measure that?
Well, it is a great question, and not every student athlete, obviously we're going to have some student athletes that are just going to be at the top of the heap. They're just, those opportunities are going to be there for them. But for raw data, we would have to be looking at what opportunities were presented to them and what they were able to choose based on the fact that they went through this class to become immediately eligible. Because if we have kids go through this class and don't meet the standards, they're not going to have that opportunity for a scholarship. So I guess we'd have to base it on the fact that, are we spending, if we're spending $40,000, are we getting $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 in return for scholarships? But unfortunately, that number is not known until they graduate. So if we have a sophomore, we're not going to know for 3 years that ROI based on that particular student. But it would have
some historical data. You know, if you look at the data from today, if you were to implement the program and then say, you know, we were getting 100 kids athletic scholarships, put this program into place, and all of a sudden it's 300. I don't think you'd have to go any further than that. But I'm like you know. Again,
the other thing
I would worry that we're just throwing all our football players in here to get them a credit.
That's not what this. Yeah, we will ensure that doesn't happen. Yeah, but
that was my.
That's where you were going.
Mr. Weischer, the other thing that we can do is we can look at it from a standpoint of what student athletes that we're enrolling in that particular class moving forward, we can break it down, because I've tracked college students who have already received scholarships over the last 4 years. We can take that data and start comparing it with the data after this class has been in place for a couple of years. That'll help solidify a little more to get those, what I'm considering those sophomores through. We can start comparing that data of what I've already collected based on our 7 previous schools.
And then my last question has to do with funding. Could we not look for sponsors to help come along side of this program? I have to imagine that there's somebody out there that would say, I'd love to support something like this, whether it's some of our boosters or Nike or Under Armour or whoever it may be. I mean, have we thought about or talked about pursuing any type of funding to help offset this?
We can put on it.
Wheeler?
His name is Matt.
Oh, Matt.
We have our own.
I thought you meant the shakedown artist.
Our own coordinator of marketing, I can't speak for him, he's not here right now, but I'm sure it's a conversation that we'd be more than happy to have. He's working hard to help support our teams moving forward, but at the same time, we can see the importance of this, so if that's a direction we want to take, I'm sure that would not be
I
an
think
issue.
we should explore it and see what opportunities exist. I'll wrap up by saying that I'm in favor of this, and Ryan, just so you know, every one of my questions wasn't to be critical, it was
No,
to
I understand.
understand and to make sure that I'm clear on what I would look for in putting something like this in place. I think it's a good move, and Mr. Booth, I'm really grateful, because you brought this up, my memory's correct, right? Originally?
Correct, and we did this tonight because Mr. Thacker and Mr. Wooden were here, and again, it's just, I have a strong belief that there's a ton of money out there on the table that we're just not getting, and I think it really has to do not with our kids that have the strong parent involvement, strong booster club involvement, D1 talent. I think it's these kids that maybe are coming from lower class homes, parents working 2 or 3 jobs, that just don't understand this process, and it's really it's a difficult process.
It's an extremely difficult process.
I'm reading a book right now that Mr. Adams gave me. I didn't even realize it was that difficult. It is.
Well,
Dr. Pace was
Yeah, well, before she does, I just want to say thank you, Chairman, for bringing it forward. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Ryan, for the presentation, the information, and the answers to my questions. And then, Board, just so you know, I'm favorable towards this, whether it's 50 or 100 per school. I'm open to what that conversation looks like. And then, Dr. Pace, I would just want to know, think every dollar adds up. And I think that would be the big concern that I would lay out. Do I like the idea, the concept, and do I think that there could be a true benefit? The answer is yes on all. But I also want you to be able to give us a little bit of feedback from your concerns from a budgetary standpoint of where this does or doesn't fit in.
Right. A couple of things. As you know, Board, the current budget for 18-19 is incredibly tight, and so, we start adding a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. It's just not there. However, when Ryan and I talked, tonight's purpose was to assess the interest of the Board in planning for moving something like this forward for the 19-20 school year. There is potential that we could fit it into some master schedules as a pilot program for maybe 50 kids in second semester. We'll certainly look at that based on the feedback that we've gotten from the Board. A couple of things I think are important. Number one, I don't know that we'll be able to assess the number of dollars because these scholarships have different values, but I think the percentage of students from each school who were getting scholarships for the last 4 years, and then once implemented, how that trend line moves up. That's the number that we're looking for the return on an investment. As you mentioned, Mr. Weissayer, and as Ryan reiterated, it's going to be very, very important that we schedule it carefully because for Title IX purposes, we have to make sure that there's a balance between females and male students. We can't have an imbalance there or we'll be in super big trouble. And now I've lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Your last point was you wanted to ensure that soccer and volleyball players are involved in this. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Okay, and that helps me remember what it was. We were talking in our leadership team, Mr. Adams previewed the presentation for our leadership team on Monday, and Mark Clinch was with us. This was last Monday. As I don't know if you're aware, but both of his daughters went to school in Pennsylvania on water polo scholarships, and he said how helpful something like this would have been the first time around. By the second time around, they kind of knew the deal of what it takes to market yourself, have the tapes, all those types of things, and get out there and earn those dollars. But as Mr. Booth said, in some of your smaller schools in the Northeast and those types of things like rowing, water polo, crew, there's just opportunity for scholarships that I think we probably have left on the table, that something like this could help us promote. So that's my 2 cents, and thank you for your patience.
Thacker, do you have Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, well, really, to go back to, you were thinking kind of the way I was, Dr. Pace. I mean, the school year is about to start in the next 3 weeks, so it's unrealistic to get this in the first semester. But if we could find a way to get this into the second semester, so that way there are some kids who can take advantage of it. I mean, I'm not going to be here, but I'd like to see it. But insofar as Mr. Weiss, our return on investment, I've got to believe that if we spent $5,000 or $7,500 per school, that's going to come back several fold over with students who are motivated. I guess one of the components I'd be looking for, and you brought it up, Dr. Pace, you alluded to it, Dr. Pace, with Mr. Clinch, is there maybe not a class, but an introductory or some module or something that parents can become educated on this as their students are going through it? Because, well, you say, well, the students can bring it home to them. Well, teenagers aren't necessarily great at bringing stuff back to their parents. So
the coaches are going to identify the candidates.
Right, but then the parent, it has to be, once you get a 16 or 17-year-old, 15-year-old kid, it becomes, well, they should do it themselves, it's got to become a family thing. I mean, parents do it with their kids, otherwise it doesn't happen. So how does that?
We've had multiple family nights over the years where
Okay.
we've presented.
With this?
Yes, we're not capped, just the NCAA process itself.
Okay,
The NAI process itself. We've done that across our county, east and west side, over the years, and we've actually had the college and career specialist, Amanda Lopez, from a couple of years ago. We put a whole presentation together where I also went out, and one of my sessions was on the NCAA eligibility.
I guess, okay, and I'm not just going, for this specific class, okay?
You're asking
The students who participate in this, if there is not something specific for parents, a parent night, a parent intro, whatever, or I think that would help our students be more successful.
Okay.
And to that end, one of the things I would encourage you to do is when you talk to the vendor about this, say, in the schools you've been in, what have they done to complement this to get the parents knowledgeable or up to speed? I'm sure somebody's done something.
Sure.
And let's see what they've done.
I'll be happy to
I
answer that
think we
question.
get, and it'd be nice if there was some other data. It'd be nice if we could reach out and find some funding for this from some outside sources. When it came forward, I think in our conversations, I was not ready to push for rolling it out this year. I was hoping to build it into next year, find some funding, and find some outside funding, at least some outside help, and then roll it out next year. I mean, certainly if you think you could have a pilot program at one high school or two, or whatever you think you could do, I'd be fine with that. But I don't want to, personally, I'm not pressuring you to do that. But other than that, board, I think you see where we're at.
Thank you very
I mean,
much.
like at Celebration, I know some kids on the
Thank you,
bubble who could really benefit.
So let's move forward. Thank you, Ryan.
Sure, thanks, Ryan.
And
Great
Ryan, you have created a legal situation for
Orlando
yourself, because
Magic,
that was
Orlando City
Way
Soccer.
more than 3 minutes,
Exceeded
Ryan.
3 minutes.
Your questions exceeded the 3 minutes too, so I apologize.
Blame it on Mr. Thacker.
Board, that brings us to our regular agenda items. Thank you again, Mr. Adam. Curriculum and instruction, number 17.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Right.
He completely violated the 3 minutes.
I'm sorry. So
just a
Mr. Wheeler made the motion. Who made the second?
I did.
Mr.
I have a
Thacker.
question, though, for the-
And we have some discussion.
Dr. Pace,
Yes, sir.
I'm tired, I can't remember much. Guy Ready is the one that we used this year that we talked about a couple weeks ago, a month ago.
Not
where-
matching up.
Where some of the results from iReady did not match up with our actual results, is that correct?
That is correct, and we have had ongoing discussions with Curriculum Associates. Courtney is here from Curriculum Associates. They've been very, very good about helping us to really dig deeply into the data and understand even more effectively things that we can monitor next year. It is a state-approved alternative assessment for grade 3 promotion, which is important as we start to move forward, and it provides a common assessment for the student growth measure for our K-3 teacher evaluations, and it does help to determine and prescribe individualized learning paths. And then we are working with them to improve our use and make sure that we have a better predictive analysis moving forward.
So that being said, you're comfortable with this?
At this time, sir, yes, I stand behind the recommendation to approve the contract for this year.
Mr. Weissauer?
Was there clarity provided? I understand you're supporting it and recommending it, but I still have concern over the lack of correlation that existed and our shock and disappointment with how big that gap was. And so I'm interested to know what answers were provided with that and what's being done to make sure that it lines up beyond just saying, I'm comfortable with it. Not from you, maybe from them, I don't know.
As I said, they're working hand in hand with us in terms of looking at the test itself, the specs, and all of those types of things as they're moving forward. They're also looking at other district correlations to see that. For grade 5, 22 out of 28 of our school level predictions in ELA were within the designated error range, and 23 out of 28 school level predictions for math were in the range. Where it was really out of whack was third grade, and it's particularly in math. Only 3 out of 28 of the school level predictions fell within that designated error range. So again, we're working with those, but it is my recommendation that we move forward at this time with this contract, with the understanding that as we move through the math adoption process this year, we are going to be looking carefully at other alternatives to help us monitor and assess. This is, in my professional opinion, the best out there right now.
Okay.
Mr. Thacker? Oh, sorry, are you done, Mr. Weissauer?
I'm actually not.
Okay.
The representative you said is here.
Courtney?
Courtney, I just want, I want you to hear my concern on this, is that I'm going to support this at the recommendation of the superintendent. I think that the entire board feels the way that I'm about to express, but I certainly feel this way. Please understand the sense of urgency and concern that I have and we have, and I would suspect potentially you guys have as well, with the gaps that existed and with what our concerns were with that. I'm going to approve it because I think it is the right tool for the time and because I think that you understand what needs to take place.
Yes, sir.
But as a vendor for the school board, I can't vote for this without looking you in the eye first and telling you I'm very concerned about what we had to deal with last year. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Weissauer. Mr. Thacker?
Pretty much the exact same comments that Tim just had. I'll support it. It's your recommendation. I trust you. However, that being said, I would be curious to know before next year if other school districts experience the same differentials that we experienced. And if that were the case, and again, if we experience them again next year, I would probably not support this again. So if you feel that this is happening all over the place, I would hope between now and the next 12 months you would look for an alternative if this is not.
This is year 3 of our contract, so we will be looking very carefully over the course of this year in terms of where we are a year from now.
Chairman, let me make one additional comment. Courtney, right? Understand, because you don't know me, my desire is that this does work. And so I want you to know that what I'm communicating is not adversarial as much as it is maybe encouragement to understand that this board has invested in this product and our leadership team has invested in promoting this product in our district now for a number of years, and we genuinely want this partnership to be fruitful for everybody. So understand what I'm saying, but at the same time understand what the concerns have been shared. And I do know, because of the involvement at the state level as well with other school boards across the state, that other peers of ours across the state of Florida are having some of these same conversations, because I hear them at the association meetings as well.
Thank you, Mr. Weissauer. Mr. Soto?
Yeah, so I just heard from the superintendent that we had a little bit of variance, well, not a little bit, that we had great variance on the third grade level, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm pretty sure you looked into that. Why did that happen? What can you attribute that variance to?
We believe that some of it was implementation and fidelity of the assessment pieces of it. We believe that some of it was in the fact that the testing changed just a little bit in terms of the test specs, but we're still looking into that with Curriculum and Associates as we move forward. As I said, at 5th grade, it was much more within the designated range. It was 3rd grade that was really off.
Did any other district experience something similar to that?
Orange County has also had some of the same issues.
3rd grade.
I don't know specifically by grade level. I know that Dr. Fritz has had some discussions with them,
Okay.
but they're ongoing.
But in spite of that, you feel that this product working in every other respect?
I think it's our best resource at this point in time to help us move forward and provide our teachers and students with a tool that will help them both learn and assess, and we're going to continue to monitor implementation.
What's the feedback from the teachers that are using this? How does our staff feel like this? Is this diagnostic is really doing it for them?
We have not yet surveyed the teachers for this particular administration because school was out when we got the results. But our research and evaluation team will be doing a complete program evaluation, just like we did last year. Last year, the teachers were very favorable.
Okay, so that, as far as we know, this is something that they're
Yes.
used to using and they're.
But we'll continue to keep the board updated as our research and evaluation team completes their second year program evaluation.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Weiser.
One additional question. As far as the cost of the product in this contract compared to the prior contract, without me going through all the backup, does anybody know off the top, are we paying the same rate, a lower rate, or a higher rate?
The rate from the initial year of the contract was set to increase as we implemented additional tools in the teaching toolbox. But this is what was guaranteed in the original terms of the contract.
So just so you, I don't think I need to explain, I think you guys can read my mind of what I'm getting at, is that any product or service that doesn't perform to the level that it's expected to and it's offering shouldn't be, the price for it shouldn't be going up. If anything, it should be staying the same or going down. That's my question. Again, board, I'm going to vote in favor. I understand where we are. I won't belabor the point, but I obviously do have concern. I want to make sure that this is working. It's the right tool, that the gaps that exist are identified and fixed as quickly as possible. I don't expect perfection because I know we can't have a perfect predictive tool that's going to be able to tell us everything in every instance, but I want it to be as tight as it needs to be to provide the data that we need to make the best decisions for our students.
I would call some very large variances.
Very large.
And I appreciate your feedback, board, and absolutely take it very, very seriously. And I also appreciate the confidence that you're showing in a recommendation.
We have a new math curriculum director, don't we?
We do.
They're going to be working on
Coordinator.
already third grade coordinator.
Absolutely. She's already been analyzing the data deeply, yes.
Okay, board, anybody else? I'll just say I was going to close with what Tim articulated better than I probably will right now, is that when a product comes forward and does not perform, you don't pay more for it. Board with that? Is it Mr. Wheeler or Mr. Thacker? Could you remind me?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay. So board, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
I'm a no, so passes 4-1. On blast is what that was.
Move for approval of item 18.01.
18.01, and we have to do these separately, board, correct?
It's got an abstention.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Weishauer for 18.1. Board, all those in favor, state aye.
Aye. Oh, no.
Excuse me, that was my fault. So motion carries 4-0 with one abstention.
Correct.
Okay.
Move for approval 18.02.
Okay, board,
Second.
we have a motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Wheeler for 18.2. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Board, 18.3, what's your pleasure?
Motion approve?
Second with discussion.
Mr. Wheeler had the motion, Mr. Weishauer with the second, and discussion, Mr. Weishauer.
My discussion is actually just a comment, Superintendent. I know Mr. Clinch isn't here, but I just want to let you know how much I appreciate his effort in reaching out to all of us, particularly with him not being here and covering these items in detail. The meeting is helpful and productive, and it helps me have a level of confidence in the item. So I just want you to know how grateful I am for his willingness to meet
Thank
with
you very
us.
much. We'll be sure to convey those comments to Mr. Clinch and the team.
Yep, thank you, guys. Okay, board, so Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Weishauer, right?
Yes.
18.3, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Board, 18.4.
Motion approve?
Second.
Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Soto. We'll go with Mr. Soto just for the heck of it. Thank you. Board, any discussion? I'll call, seeing no discussion, I will call for a vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to our attorney's report. Mr. Kruppenbacher.
No reports.
Superintendent update.
Just a couple of reminders, Board. At your seats, you had two documents, basically from board member requests for additional information. One is a more comprehensive report about our VPK, both the assessment that was done as well as our programming as we move forward, as well as a draft of a finance talking point card. Please review that, give us your feedback. If you like it, if that's what you want on it, then Dana and her team will print them in postcard-sized form that you can take with you, move forward, and that kind of stuff. Also, we talked in our previous workshop about adding a health trust fund and wellness center discussion as a workshop on August the 7th from 2 to 4. That would precede our facility workshop and regularly scheduled board meeting next Tuesday. Remember, this is back-to-back board meetings because of the weird scheduling with budget requirements. And then finally, I had sent you an email this week about potentially adding a workshop, and in looking at the calendar, Tanya and I thought maybe October the 2nd. We don't have, it's a regular board meeting day, no other workshops, specifically to go over our acceleration results for this current year, as well as then plans for next year, as well as programming at OTEC, as we continue to kind of expand that growth. And if the board's willing, we can add that. And then finally, remember that this Thursday, we have our administrator welcome back. Breakfast starts at 7 at OHS. We'll move into the auditorium, and we would love to have as many of you or all of you there to give a greeting if you'd like at 8 o'clock.
Okay, so on the workshop for next week, so what do we already have scheduled? Just give us the rundown.
They'll give you a 2 o'clock healthcare, 4 o'clock facilities, and 5 o'clock 5:30.
Okay. Board, is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, we're good? There's no unfinished business. I'm sorry. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Thacker.
I really like the talking points. I don't know, Board, what you think, but what I'd like is either on the backside or somewhere else, some basic stats, if Dana's group could add that. Number of schools,
Okay.
number of charter schools, number of students, number of teachers, numbers, just kind of some of the
Sure, we'll be glad to convey that to Dana.
the 10
Absolutely.
items that are kind of.
Okay.
Me?
No, you're handing this to you?
No, yeah, for me, it's for me to have in my pocket in my wallet, if somebody wants to
So
say.
you just want to run around town poor mouth everybody?
I don't want to poor mouth anybody, I just want some facts.
I don't think everybody knows that we are last and funding.
But I know, but I'd like to know the accurate numbers. If you don't want it, you can.
I understand.
I'll get a black Mark's Law, and you can toss off the back.
Okay. We don't have any new business that we added, and Board, I'll ask for any comments. Mr. Whitter's gone, great. Mr. Soto, Mr. Thacker, Mr. Weishauer, Dr. Pace is good. Tanya, you have anything? You good? All right. I don't have anything, so we will stand adjourned. So we've got there. Were you sitting there too?
You like
Huh?
it?